Hey folks, Phil the B-Man here. I'm just about to start bottle feeding and I wanted to add some fumagillin to my feed. Um, when you read the instructions, whether you got the whole brochure or online or what's on the bottle, it's not exactly clear how you would feed a small amount. It's, the instructions here, enough to prepare 380 liters of syrup to feed 100 package colonies or 50 wintering colonies. So clearly there's some relationship that the amount of feed going into the hive is relevant to the amount of medication you need. I'm feeding, not like a gallon that you would do for feeding a package, but rather I'm feeding 350 ml. So what should my dose be? And I'm also working with 1,000 liters, which I plan to feed to about 1,500 colonies. So they're going to get, the hungriest ones might get 3 bottles, so close to a liter. Don't want to overdo it. I think I'll put 2 bottles in 1,000 liters. That gets me not quite the concentration that it's asking for. This is 400 or 380 liters for 1 bottle. Double that would be 760, so it would be less. That's about how much I need. I'm gonna go with 2 bottles, be slightly under dose. I also don't think I have a severe infection. This is kind of a prophylactic treatment. One reason I would like to treat now is I can guarantee like none of this syrup gets stored in the comb. It's 100% consumed by the hive. So in terms of when is a good time to put a medication in the hive, I feel this is a good time because there's no risk of it getting stored and then somehow interchanged with honey later, because the bees just don't store syrup in these winter conditions. So they only take it as they need it. So I think and it's also, when you read the instruction, don't expose to sunlight, check, right? I'm totally in the dark in there. So I feel like this is, if I could make this work, would be good. So maybe I'll leave some untreated and do a comparison later, I guess. But I'm gonna give this a shot. Okay, so I'll show you how I bottle feed. I got my tote and I put a spout on the front here with a valve. And after I dilute the syrup, so I'm gonna add some water and stir it. And I'm gonna stir it by blowing air into the tote. I've got a valve or not a valve, but just an air chuck on the front here. So put pressurized air on the tank. Top of the tank is open. The air bubbling up, and you kind of want to just kind of dribble it in. But the air rising creates quite a bit of convection, and that water gets mixed in very quickly. I'm going to use warm water, so it'll happen even faster. After that, then I'll fill the bottles. Okay, I'll set that up and get back to you. Okay, I've got that fumagillin mixed and the water added to dilute the syrup slightly, so you can see my tank here is now, camera straightened out. So my tank is, I filled it right to the top, and I should have videoed that, but I was actually using my phone to watch a lecture from the university on CO2 treatment of mites, which was pretty interesting, but also, like most basic science, pretty, I wouldn't say tedious, but like every step is a learning experience. So Anyway, I enjoyed it, but if you're looking for a done deal on how to do it, then we're still waiting. Anyway, here's my bottle feeding station. So coming out of the tote, I'm hooked up to a banjo fitting, and then another valve, and then the valve I actually use to fill the bottles. And so these bottles, a screw-on unit. I got these off of from a Chinese website, and they work pretty good. Sometimes they need a little cleaning up. And then just reuse pop bottles. And so then put it in the spigot, fill it up. And there's always a bit of a drip because the valve isn't right at the end. So I have a pail below to catch the drips. And then we'll just reuse that feed later. Spin the top on, and I put these in milk crates. Should have had one ready. And then when I've got 10 or 12 milk crates full, I'll go into the bee barn and put them in. So nothing fancy here. I also use the totes to store, if you get an old tote that leaks or that you got cheap or it's bent or something, cut the top plastic out. Makes a great storage unit for when you have lots, beekeeping, you have one thing for every hive, for every operation. So you end up with lots of thousands of things. And so those totes are really good I use them for feed pails, for the bottle feeders, for hive blankets and other things. You can just throw a bunch of stuff in, guards, and then spray paint on the side what it is. They can stack up if they're not too heavy. You can save a lot of space that way. Okay, I'll fill a bunch more bottles and then I'll show you feeding the hives. Okay, here we are in the bee shed. I've got some full bottles, and the goal is to slide the bottle into the entrance, and ideally you want to kind of hit where the bees are. The cluster will be, if it's a decent sized hive, down to the bottom on at least some part of the thing. So you kind of got to look in, see that cluster, and then get that feed in contact with them. If it's too far over, even if they can smell it, they might not be able to get to it. But what you can also do is, once you get a bunch of them fed, you can let the temperature come up a little bit. The clusters will expand and then more fully embrace that feeder. So that's what we're doing here. We'll do a few. Let me turn this around and I'll show you what I mean by those clusters. Here's one that probably didn't get feed soon enough. There's dead bees all the way across, and lots of fecal matter on the front. That's probably a hive that's starved. Here's one. You can see the bees. I just get the angle right. There we go. You can see the bees. They're clustered here. If I put that bottle over here, it would be a waste of time. So I need to just hit in that spot there. This one, again, relatively small cluster. These, by the way, are all my late fall splits. The color doesn't show up in the red light, but these are all the off the top splits from last August. And I want to feed them because they're my highest investment in terms of newest queens and so on. But also, I'm not convinced they got quite enough feed in them last fall. Maybe because they're a little smaller in population. Okay, let the feeding begin. So take the pop bottle, you flip it over quick, and it won't drip right away. I usually start from the bottom. And sometimes you gotta reach way up high. I'll do maybe one close up here. So the bees are right here. That long snout, the water runs down for the syrup. It can't come back, just like a suction pail or a feeder, and it just slides in. So that the syrup is available quite a ways inside the hive. But if they really want it, they'll come out and they'll be all clustered over this. And that's what it looks like when you get one short row done, and probably 1,450 or odd to go. Have a great day, everyone.